What's going on, everyone? I want to welcome Cynthia G to the show. Before we get started in the interview, which I'm very anxious to hear some of her thoughts and concerns on some things, I'm going to put up on the screen a flyer. Now, any of you that live in Seattle, you need a job. There's jobs that you possibly can get in construction. As you're interested into that, you can text them at Get to Work Seattle to 31996. As you can see, you possibly can make up to $23 an hour. It also has an event information, but make sure if you need a job to check it out. Now, Miss Cynthia G, I want you to tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and the subjects you cover.
Okay, so two reasons why I started the YouTube channel. Number one, I saw like an influx on YouTube of just meaningless content. I didn't really see too many people, you know, other than you and Boyce and a few other people bringing light to the issues, especially with everything going on today. I also didn't see anyone speaking too in detail about the psychology behind white supremacy and everything that's being put out in the media and the propaganda. And then also I just saw a bunch of foolishness. You know, when I did see videos being put out mostly by Black people, it's always content that's to the detriment of our community. So I wanted to do something to counteract that.
And that is good that you're doing that because, you know, we need to have more voices come up that can actually speak to these issues. I don't think it should be one person. I think it should be a plethora of people who can really speak about the issues. Now, Cynthia, when you started this YouTube channel, what did you expect to come out of it?
Well, let's see. I expected to get attacked. I did expect that. I expected that, you know, white people wouldn't like the message. I hoped that it would bring enlightenment to people because I feel like I see things and maybe look at things from a different way than maybe a lot of people do. It's probably my psychology background. I have a degree in psychology. And so I tend to analyze things. I don't try to look at it on the surface level. I always try to go deeper. So I hoped that I could bring enlightenment and awareness to people, especially the Black community. One of those reasons being because I live in a predominantly white area, so I'm around white people all the time. And I think that Black people have a false conception of who white people really are. So I hope to get some awareness of who we're dealing with when we refer to white supremacy.
Now, when you say white people, are you mentioning them just in general? Or are you speaking about those that have black phobic attitudes? Now, we're using the word black phobic instead of racist now, black phobia, because we need something that's just directed toward us. Because when you just say the word racist, it's too blanketed now. So
Right.
if they have, you know, an intense fear and hatred of black people, those people, are you speaking of the black phobic people or just white people in general? We need to differentiate of that.
See, the thing is, though, I don't really feel like there's too much of a differentiation between the two. I think you have one group of people that are outright, blatantly Black phobic, and then I think you have a group of people that are in denial, that are what I like to call silent co-signers of white supremacy. And these are the group of white people that will deny racism exists. They'll just say that, you know, Black people are doing something, wearing something, or behaving in a certain way to account for their treatment. So they may not be, you know, the second group may not be blatantly, outlandishly racist. They just may be conditioned racist and really just don't know it. They may really believe that it's something that Black people are doing to warrant how they're being treated. So I don't really I think either, regardless to what category they're in, I think they're still perpetuating white supremacy. They're just doing it in two different ways. So those are the two groups of people that I refer to. And unfortunately, the majority of white people fall in one or two, either one of those categories.
Okay, so do you work a job?
I do.
Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you from experience. Trust me when I'm telling you this. People on your job eventually is going to start seeing your videos. How are you going to be able to deal with that?
Well, considering I have to deal with a lot of racism specifically at my job without the videos, I'm fine with that. I wouldn't do anything that involves social media with the possibility that it's going to go viral without being able to deal with the ramifications. So, in all honesty, I really, it is what it is. Eventually, it's going to happen. So.
And when that happened, and let's say your boss is your boss white?
Yes.
Okay. So if your boss see your video that you're going ham on white supremacy and things like that, are you willing to suffer for your videos? Are you willing to lose a job over it?
I might lose my job anyway because I am currently literally in the midst of dealing with a racist situation at my job that may lead me to have to initiate a lawsuit against him. Like, I'm currently in the process of talking to attorneys about suing them anyway, so that's inevitable.
Okay. Now, I always ask people this because when you step into this arena, it's going to get real for you eventually. And, that way you're going to have to prepare to deal with it. That's why I was asking those questions just from one YouTube person to another. Now, let's get into the presidential election. Now, that's underway. They just wrapped up the Nevada caucus for the Democrats and the South Carolina primary for the Republicans. We noticed Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders has went into a pandering to the black community for votes. Now, do you feel Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders deserves the black vote?
I think that it boils down to who are you going to pick? Who's the lesser of two evils? I wouldn't even think Hillary Clinton is an option, to be honest. And I've had these debates with my best friend. I don't understand why black people, especially in these days, seem to think, because I know that Hillary Clinton, there's a lot of black people, specifically black women, in favor of her, and I know Bernie Sanders is doing very well, very good as well. But what I don't understand specifically is why we would think that either one of them, who are two white people that benefit wholly from white supremacy, would do anything to benefit the black community. I personally don't think black people should get either one of. Black people should vote for Hillary or Bernie. Honestly, I don't think that they should get. They haven't done anything to deserve our vote. They haven't said anything to lead us to believe that they're going to do anything to benefit the black community as a whole. So what are they doing to get your vote? Like, I don't understand why we would give them our vote.
Yeah, I was recently seeing the Congressional Black Caucus. They gave their stamp of approval to Hillary, and I'm looking like, oh, come on.
It's on what?
Really? Not Hillary. And like, my issue with Hillary is not maybe some other people's issue. My issue, and I can run down a list of things why I have an issue with Hillary Clinton. First and foremost, she is responsible for the destabilization of Libya and a lot of countries in Africa when they were trying to get themselves together to build a one united Africa, and they did not want that because Gaddafi was going to make the whole united Africa have a gold dinar. And when they heard that Gaddafi was going to go to a gold dinar because the motherland has so much gold, and they weren't going to be able to trade or buy anything within the new Africa except with gold. European countries don't have the gold as Africa have it. And they had to stop this man from doing this because he was putting all this stuff together. He was tired of buying $500 million worth of telecommunications services from the West every year. He had contracted the Chinese to put a satellite in space. And Hillary Clinton and Nicolas Sarkozy of France got together with NATO and went destabilized a sovereign nation, lied and gave terrorists all kind of weapons to go in and say, oh, he liberating the people and he killing his people. Gaddafi didn't do any of that. Even Libya had no debt.
Right. And to add to that, her husband greenlit mass incarceration of black men. And here's the thing that I don't understand, that people don't get. When you're in a marriage, you can just be in a regular relationship with a man. Your wife has a lot of influence over what he's going to do. So I think what people are confused about is Hillary had a lot to do with the bills that Bill Clinton passed and everything that Bill Clinton did. Hillary had a big part of that. So why we would think that her husband can come and contribute to locking up millions of black men for nonviolent drug charges, why we would think that she's going to come and somehow be the savior to erase all that, I don't understand the thought process that's involved around that.
You know, and I'm telling you, as a married man, my wife has a lot of bearing on what I do, even some things I report on, even certain things that we do. And I ask her, I say, hey, do you think this? Or certain stories she'll pass my way. She'll say, hey, look at this, and look what this is going on. And look, and she'll pass a lot of stuff, a whole lot of things to me more than anybody, or point some things out. So yes, your wife do have a bearing on some things that you do, 100% of it. You know, I mean,
it it could not even just be your wife, because I know I haven't been any man's wife, and I can tell you when I was in a relationship with them, I did have a lot of influence over what they thought or what they ultimately did. And it just depends on your relationship with that person. But more importantly, I think that people are looking at Bill and Hillary as two separate people, and that's not the case. You need to look at them as the same, because you're going to have the same result. She hasn't done anything or said anything. She hasn't even mentioned how she's going to undo what her husband did. So I don't understand why black people are flocking to Hillary, or even really Bernie Sanders. Like, why would we flock to Bernie Sanders simply because he mentioned a few things that he felt like he mentioned race? That's not enough to get you to vote him into your president. Like, I don't understand that.
Now, they mentioned Bernie Sanders. You know, recently he was asked about reparations, and he said that he didn't think it would get passed and it was too divisive. But it's quite funny that President Obama had gave $12 million to Holocaust survivors, but nobody said that wasn't divisive. You see what I'm saying? I'm so sick and tired of them Democrats and black people being on the liberal plantation and think they can just tell us, we just need to have a conversation about race. Yeah, give them the vote. Like,
no, we
that
don't need to have a conversation about race. We need to have a conversation about what are white people going to do to make up for the 400 years and counting that they've subjugated and oppressed black people. That's because we already know race exists. We already know race is a problem. We already know what they've done. I don't really care about anyone bringing up anything about race unless you're going to tell me what are you going to do to make up for what you've done to our people for hundreds of years and that you're still doing. But then I think no one's looking at the fact of why don't they want to give black people reparations. I think we need to look at why they're saying this is divisive or making every excuse as to why they can't do it. Because reparations isn't new to the U.S. because they've given reparations to everyone that they've oppressed but black people. So then it runs the question of, okay, if this is a group of people who truly feel remorseful about what they've done, why wouldn't they want to, when you know you've done the worst to black people, why wouldn't you want to make up for that? Asking for reparations is really letting you off easy considering what you've done. Look at it. If we look at it in the court system, whenever someone commits a crime, depending on what that crime is, that person is required to pay restitution to the victims. So we already know this is a common thing even with the American justice system. They clearly have no problem paying reparations and restitution. Why can't we get it? And I'm going to tell you why we can't get it, because their supremacy depends on our subjugation. You can't give black people the means to build themselves up and then still be able to benefit off their oppression. And I think that's what no one's looking at. We're not looking at the deeper meaning of why they really don't want to give you reparations, because it's not just about the money. I don't think it's just about the money. I think it's keeping the black community in a subjugated position, because the only way they can actually have white supremacy is with black oppression and subjugation. Is what America was founded on.
Yeah, that's why I always say white supremacy can only thrive on black inferiority. That's basically what you're saying. You know, now, so if they, let's say if they was to give reparations, I don't even support giving it in the guise of cash. I would say, you know what, let's give it to people who, let's do it through grants to start businesses, and that way they can create jobs in the economy. What creating jobs in the economy going to do? They will have to pay taxes. They hire people. I mean, you can actually use that money and have that money coming literally right back to you, and you really shut people up. Because if it would be me, I say, okay, let's go ahead on and give them what they want. That way they can't talk about it no more. They I want to hear no talk about slavery and reparations, because now you got it. That's the end of it. And that would have to be the end of it, because they made it right. But they will not make it right, like you said, because it's divisive. I don't know if it'll pass. But everybody else's reparation passed from, Native Americans, which they should have got a reparation. I agree with that. Japanese people who put in internment camps, they should be given something. Okay, they're giving Holocaust survivors money, which I don't know why, because America had nothing to do with it at all. They didn't put no one in concentration camps. They had nothing to do with Adolf Hitler. And blacks was put in internment camps too in this country. But nobody talk about that. Nobody talk about the black codes and what black people went through with that. Nobody, you know, yes, we know about Jim Crow laws, but this stuff was laws that was done in the United States of America. Yet, like you say, we can't get restitution, we can't get reparation because that's wrong and that's divisive and all this other stuff. But you know, talk about the programs that, you know, white Americans had got for coming over here, literally, like the head right system. And you know, you had the Homestead Act of 1862. You had the VA loans and the redlining program through the FHA. You had all this stuff they have got, just to name off a few. But we asked for a little something, and that's wrong. We have contributed to in this nation just about almost everything you can see. A whole lot of things that people don't even know about. The black man and black woman have contributed to this nation. We have not just been some two-bit slave on a plantation, didn't do anything. If you look at, for instance, a doorknob, a black man invented that. You look at the traffic light, black man invented that. Elevator, refrigerator, the broom and dustpan, all kind of things you use for everyday use. A black woman invented the home security system. We can go on and on and on how we have contributed to this nation, but yeah, we can't get something for our suffering and oppression of things that no human being should go through.
But look at what you just said, though. You said, look at how much we've contributed to this nation. We've contributed a lot to this nation through oppression, okay? Because America was founded on black oppression. White people didn't just come establish America. They don't know in America, and a successful America that doesn't involve black people. So essentially, when we talk about getting rid of black oppression, we're in essence saying destroy America as we know it. It's similar to, like, for example, if I took a car and I said I'm going to drive this car, but the car doesn't have any tires on it, it's not going to drive. Black oppression is what's driving America because that's what it was established on. If you take away the many different systems and infrastructures that contribute to black oppression and you remove that from America, America's not going to be the powerful force that it is right now because they don't know how to run it successfully without a black contribution. If we all did get reparations, and every black person took their reparation money and moved out of America, what would that do to America?
Yeah, see, I was going to ask you that. I say, so if Donald Trump became president, if Donald Trump became president and said, you know what, we got to send them back. We got to send them back, and we're going to give them a little money, but they got to go. So let's say if Donald Trump was to send us all back, all at one time, with planes leaving every day, taking all 40+ million of us back to Africa.
Then you would have the same Europe that you would have Europe, but it would just be America. It would be a new Europe where white people were just oppressing each other and killing each other. That's what you would have. Because at the end of the day, I look at it like this. Okay, they didn't want slavery to end. Slavery ended, right? So we know that they had a problem with that. They didn't like black people, still don't. Why, when slavery ended, why didn't you just ship all black people back to Africa at that point in time? Why not just do that? And it's because you can't have the American establishment without black people. White people in America know that. So they can fund Donald Trump as much as he wants to and say, oh, we're going to ship all black people back to Africa. But I can assure you, the powers that be know that you cannot have America without black people. It's not going to be successful. Look at just two of our main industries that are black dominated, music and sports. Those are generating billions of dollars that is going into the American economy. If black people are in America to play those, just to interact in those two industries, what are you going to have? Like, what are you going to do? Because then you have two industries that's bankrupting because they don't have the main drivers of it, just like the car with the wheels. You have to have the wheels on the cars to drive it. Black people are driving the American economy, if you think about it. And without black people, you have no successful American economy. You just won't.
Yeah, because we are the #1 spenders of America. We only hold our money in our hands for 6 hours. And that's what I tell us, that we need to really pay attention to our true position. If we are the #1 consumer and the #1 spender in America, that means you have a lot of power that you're not really paying attention to. But when you speak about this power and say, look, let's get together, let's leverage that power, that we ain't got to stay in the street act a fool, we ain't got to ride, we ain't gonna have to do none of that stuff. just use our dollar as the power that we have. You know,
Yeah.
then you have people coming in. That's kind of racist to say support black businesses or to do. What is so racist about that? Everybody else do it. Why
Because if
can't
you're
black people?
supporting black businesses, then you're taking away from the American economy. You have to think about how much money, how much black dollars goes into the white economy. The majority of black dollars are going into the white economy. So of course they're going to think it's racist, because then you're taking from them. If you just have black pride, then somehow you're racist. If you're not in a subjugated position, then you're racist to white people. But I don't really care what they think is racist, really. You can think whatever you want is racist. At the end of the day, if I feel like I'm going to support this black business, then I'm going to support this black business. I don't really care what you think about it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, now the people that, I understand it's a lot of people that we're speaking about, because I want to make sure we are clear on a lot of people in the 1% who are the owners of everything. And I know that's really a lot of the people that we're speaking about right now. Anybody else, they just support black people and they get the same end in the stick, and they realize that some of them actually realize that, and they write me and tell me, look, hey, we losing our jobs too. We are not getting things for our kids. The education system sucks. Shoot, we in Flint right now too. Get drinking lead water. So like, I want to make sure we want to put a distinction on who we're talking about here, because I have people of all groups watch, and they are actually interested in these conversations. Believe it or not, Cynthia, I never understand. Even the black phobics are interested. They will sit here, Cynthia, and hear us talking like this, and they will be with their popcorn the whole time, eating it up. I'm like, why are you watching this? I don't go
Because
watch the
their
Ku Klux Klan.
obsession with black people. That's the thing. There is an obsession with black people. And I don't care what because here's the thing. We all know that you can't look in absolutes, right? We all know that all black people are not pro-black. They are not for the black empowerment agenda. And we already know that all white people are not racist. All of them are not for the white supremacist agenda. So we can't think in absolutes. However, the vast majority of white people do not want to see black people empowered. They just don't. And they may not admit to it, but the more that they fight against any little bit of black empowerment, I mean, just look at Beyonce's Super Bowl performance. That can give you some kind of clue as to the mentality of white people, regardless to whether they consider themselves for the establishment or against the establishment. The bottom line of it is that the majority of white people do not want to see black people empowered. I'm not going to say all of them don't, but the majority of them don't want to see black people empowered.
So you mentioned Beyonce's Super Bowl performance. As a black woman, what did you think about it?
I thought it was actually very good. I was surprised by it, because initially I saw I didn't watch the Super Bowl. My best friend actually told me about Beyonce's Super Bowl performance, because I'm not really a Beyonce fan. I like her. I think she's talented, but I'm not really a fanatical person. So I wasn't all into it. But then when I saw her video and looked at it in depth, and then saw her performance, first of all, her performance paled in comparison to her video. So I'm not even sure why there's all the outrage about it, except for the fact that she expressed some black pride. I think that she should do more things like that. But what I really don't like is that I keep seeing comments where black people are attacking and belittling what she's done, or they'll downplay it, despite the fact that if you look at the amount of outrage she's actually sparked with the white community, then there is your effect. That is, you can only measure your effect by the response to it. So based off the response of the white community, you can just you can infer that she actually did something really big because of all the backlash she's getting from it. But I think it was great. I think that it was long awaited, and I think she should do more of it. My fear, though, is, and my concern is that with the black community, we seem to have a you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You have a lot of people that will criticize her and Jay-Z and say, well, they're saying nothing about the problems with black people. But then when you have Beyonce do this performance that's clearly upsetting white people, they clearly feel like she's against white people. She's against police. At this point, they feel like she's being too black. She's an uppity Negro as far as they're concerned. They clearly don't like it. But then you have black people criticizing her and saying, well, I don't feel like she did it soon enough, or she's wearing weave, or just she's really trivial, stupid things, but it just irritates me when I see that. It's like we should be 100% for our group. It doesn't matter what you think about how Beyonce looked or the timing of it or the fact that she did it at the Super Bowl. Why do you need to nitpick what she did when you can see the response from essentially your enemies to see that you should be all for what she did, actually?
Yeah, I mean that's how some black people are. You know, I understand just from life. Not everybody open their eyes at the same rate as others. And you say, well, last year she should have did this, or maybe this other year Jay-Z should have did that. Well, you know what? Maybe they wasn't awakened to anything yet. Maybe some things happened in their life. Maybe they actually got to see. Maybe when they opened up Tidal and saw the backlash it was getting by Tidal, they say, you know what? Wow, maybe that is true. What's been going on? I see what it is, because that when you stepping into that arena and you trying to pull money from Spotify and Pandora and all these other ones like they're trying to do with Jay-Z and Beyonce with Tidal, then you're going to definitely see the racism come your way, because now you step in the arena that black people don't supposed to be in. We're supposed to be consumers, not one who's actually providing those services. And, you know, I recently, I think maybe about a week ago, got me a subscription to Tidal. And I say, you know what? I'm going to get a subscription to Tidal. I'm going to check it out. You know, if Beyonce is going to do things like this, and I'm just going to try it out. And so far, what I've seen has been good on Tidal. You know, I haven't seen anything bad with it. So why can't we support Tidal? What's wrong with that?
The problem that I have a lot, because here's my thing. Washington doesn't have a really high population of black people. It is mostly white and Asian. And so when people talk about the stereotypes of black people, I don't see that in my everyday personal life. It's not something that I see. I see mostly just what white people are doing. But the thing of it is it's always about a black person attacking and belittling another black person for something. It's always belittling and attacking a black person, and then they have to look a certain way, they have to speak a certain way, you have to be a certain skin tone. If you're not fitting what the white ideology said is black, then you're discredited for black people. And I don't understand that, because if you look at the white community, they're going to accept anybody who's for their agenda. They don't really care if you're black, they don't care if you're Mexican. As long as you're supporting the white supremacist agenda, they don't care how you look, they don't care what's in your head, they don't care what's on your head, they don't care how much makeup you wear. It's about supporting their agenda. With black people, we tend to not do that. So that's strange to me. We tend to ostracize our own people, and we're putting them in categories and then invalidating their contribution to the community based solely on what you think a black person should look like. And what you think a black person should look like essentially came from the very people who only want you subjugated. Like, I don't understand why that is. And when I started doing my YouTube video, I saw a lot of that, like, because I didn't understand really the mentality, because you're only going to understand the mentality of the masses if you're around them, and that's not how it is in Washington. So I'm around mostly white people and Asians, with a few sprinkled in black people, because that's all I deal with. But when you don't see that, when you're only around that, and you're not able to gauge the mentality, and so I didn't see the mentality until I actually started doing the videos, and then based on my comments, I was like, okay, this is actually very discouraging. And for a while, I wanted to stop based off the mentality of black people, because I was like, this is a really big issue, this mentality that we have, and if we don't change this mentality, there's going to be no progress at all. So to me, I was just like, because I don't see that mentality here live and in person. I only see it when I go on my comments and I read them from black people.
Well, you know, some, and I say some, black people have a slave mind inferiority complex. I mean, bottom line. And they may tell you something about, you know, wearing your hair a certain way or wearing makeup a certain way. Number one, that's your business. I don't care what you wear. I ain't paid for it. So why I care? But they say the same thing about me. You know, like when I first started my videos, I was wearing just my everyday t-shirts, right? I wasn't wearing no suit and tie. And they say, when I started doing that, why are you wearing a suit and tie? Don't you think that's a little too much to make a YouTube video? Does that have anything to do with what I'm saying, what I'm wearing? No, for me, making a change is about making my appearance change, because how you present yourself is how people will perceive you. You know,
Yeah.
if you walking around here, if I'm dressing like a thug on these videos, then what people gonna say? Oh, it look like a thug making a video. But if you would put on a suit and tie and try to orate a certain way and try to do things professionally, then people are gonna take you that way. And I can tell you, from when I used to do my videos and T-shirts to you doing a suit and tie and doing some changes, my responses from people is a whole lot different. But some people in our community don't understand that. They're only happy when you dress down. Or I saw the comments they've told you. Well, you should wear your natural hair. You shouldn't wear so much makeup. Like, are you paying for the natural hair stuff to go in your head? Are you paying for that stuff? I don't understand people with that. It's about the message when I turn on the video. I don't care about what the person look like.
The amount of ignorant comments that I've gotten specifically from Black people is astounding, and that's starting to change. You know, with the more videos that I put out, it has started changing. But when I first put them out, you know, people saying, "Oh, you should wear your natural hair. Why are you wearing weave?" Someone even went so far as to tell me, "Oh, you have this to say, but now you need to tell me why you're wearing weave." No, I don't. I don't. It's like I don't owe you an explanation for what I choose to put in my hair. But my problem is that even when I went to school and I actually had my hair out, people assumed that it was weave. And I had my natural hair out, and because it wasn't really short, people assumed it was weave. My mom actually has dreads that goes down to her butt, and people assume that it's weave. So I think that there's this conception that Black women can't grow hair, and so I think that if you're not sitting with a very short afro with a scarf and a dashiki and a kente cloth, then to them you're not Black. And it's just so ridiculous to me. It's like we have such narrow-minded perspectives of what Blackness actually is, that concept is actually being more divisive than empowering to our community, even when you have the conscious community. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of these people, I notice, they identify themselves with the conscious community. And to me, it's like you need to question where you're getting your consciousness from. Because I know this for a fact, most Black people do not have a passport, okay? Most Black people don't really travel outside of their home states, let alone the country. So my question is, where did you get your consciousness from? Because if you think consciousness looks a certain way, then you're not conscious, because conscious is a mindset. To say that a person is not conscious if they aren't wearing an afro is literally the same as saying because you're Black, you're pro-Black. And I think we know that that's not the case. So why are we associating a conscious mentality with a certain look when they're getting their conscious idea of what a Black person is and should look like from the same media that conditioned them to feel inferior to begin with?
Yeah, that's a lot of, a Black people problem. A lot of them don't even got their own city, own neighborhood. Like you said, don't got their state. Don't even get out the country. Don't do any of that. But yet, and then they form their world. And it's just not Black folks. Because I talked to a white guy on one of my shows one time, and he was saying that he had these thoughts about Black people. So I asked him, how many Black people you grew up with? He said, well, I only seen maybe about 4 in my lifetime. I see most of everything off of the TV. So and that happens to Black folks too. You shape everything off of the propaganda of the media. Get out your neighborhood. Get out your state. Go visit other places, see other mentalities. You'll be like, wow, I didn't know these people thought this way, or maybe this is the way they live. I mean, you can tell an unlearned person sometimes just based off of some things that they say about their mentality of the world and their travels.
Yeah, it's the same way they get Black inferiority from the media is the same way they're getting their concept that white people are somehow better. And to me, that lets me know, okay, then Black people must not be around white people a lot. Because the one thing that I think it was to my benefit, even though I'm from California, that's where my family is from. They're from LA South Central. Being in Washington has actually allowed me to see white people for who they really are. So I see them for their jealous, hateful, deceptive, passive-aggressive, evil mentality, and that's because I'm around them constantly. So I think if Black people were around white people more, regardless to what they see on TV, because if you look at TV is going to show you a rosy, pretty, beautiful picture of white people, and that's just simply not the case. And when you're around them, then you see actually how devious, nefarious, and insidious they are, and how much they really do not like Black people. So that's what I've learned from being around here, and I think if Black people did get out and try travel more, and if they did go to different areas, they would see different Black people with different mentalities, and then they wouldn't be so narrow-minded. But you don't. Black people consume more TV than anyone do, and the TV is not in your favor. We're consuming the media that's conditioning us to hate ourselves and to love our oppressor. And to me, it's like, if you don't get out of the TV, get into a book, travel outside of your city, outside of your state, leave the country if you need to, do that, because that's the only way you're going to actually be conscious, is if you see different versions that contradict what you're shown on TV, because it's never going to be what's really happening.
Yeah, now I want to, add a little comment behind that just to give us a little balance. I've seen a lot of black folks, and I can see sometimes as black people we'll get so open, conscious minded, and we'll start focusing on a lot of things that you said. We'll forget the black folks that's trying to want to kill us real quick, want to beat you down for stepping on your shoes, put a bullet in your head for disrespecting them. I think we have all things in common as people, being evil and unruly and everything else. But I get what you're saying, that you got to be around different people to see certain attitudes. And I think that is a good thing, to be around everybody so you can see some things. Now, let me ask you a question about the black community itself. Do you think they need to focus more on doing for self, or continue to ask like beggars for equality on things we don't even own?
I think that we should stop depending on a group of people that are benefiting 100% from our oppression to do anything for us, because that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There isn't going to be a white savior. There isn't going to be a savior in the form of a white Jesus or a white president that's going to come and save the black community. I think we need to get that out of our head. I think we should be focusing on black sovereignty and empowerment. And I think that needs to be separate from white people. I'm not saying that we should go back to the segregation days, although I really do believe integration was destructive, very damaging for black people. But I think that we need to have it in our mind that no one is going to do anything to empower us or to get us out of oppression except black people. Because what black people tend to not understand, the white establishment is benefiting too much off of your oppression to ever have any desire to stop it, period. That we need to get that out of our mind. We need to focus solely on empowering the black community and getting sovereignty. That's what we should be focusing on, in my opinion.
Okay, Cynthia, can you tell us where people can find you if they want to check out your channel?
They can go to YouTube, Cynthia G on YouTube, and I also post my videos on my Facebook page. Some of my videos are on Voices channel as well. So he has the link on his page, and then you can just go to YouTube and type in Cynthia G, and you'll go right to my channel.
All right, we had a great conversation with Cynthia G today. Cynthia, thank you for joining us for the program. Make sure you subscribe to Cynthia's channel. And if you haven't just yet, make sure you stop by the link on the description box. Consider supporting independent media, which is a grassroots movement. Donate once a month to our Patreon. So, Cynthia, I hope you get more conversations out there. People go over and speak with her on her opinions and her videos.
And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I think that if we have the more people we have trying to work towards the empowerment of the black community and to reversing the slave mentality towards a mentality that is conducive to love, then we will be able to turn it around. I mean, no damage is permanent. So we can actually reverse what's been done, but we do have to do that through loving our own community.
All right, Cynthia. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.